want that. You have the Fresno Cycling Club, Free Fresno, the Chamber of Commerce certainly cares about how Measure C passes or doesn't. Why are we not putting 12 people from their group? Or labor union representation? We're not getting the real, we're not being really honest about, I mean, why is this group getting 12 members? Why? What is so special about this group? Well, is it that they threatened that publicly, that there would be another measure? That there was a possibility that they were involved in the failure 2 years ago? I think it's really misguided and unfortunate that they are getting to put 12 people on a steering committee that is comprised of 36 members. And every one of these community groups would want to have 12 members. The BIA would want to have 12 members. The chamber would want to have 12 members. But this group, Transportation for All, and when asked why they need 12, I didn't quite get a good answer on why they needed 12, other than they represent a lot of people and so they should be there. This body is the elected body. You have a steering committee of 26 people, 27 people. There's no reason why they can't have one, maybe 2 members, but 12. We're not being honest. We're not being honest with the public of why they're getting 12. And I think it's unfortunate that this body's going to approve that, because I think they abdicate their power and responsibility as elected officials to get this over the finish line. And I want this over the finish line for this entire town. I wanted it over the finish line in 2022. I voted for it. But as I said, you know, where I'm coming from and what this measure needs. Now, what happens if this comes back to COG and FCTA, and there are changes made that Transportation for All doesn't like? And I suspect that will be the case, because the people that I know that are with Transportation for All have very different ideas about what's needed in this county than I think I do, or constituents of mine do. So I think there will be differences. Is there a guarantee that they're not gonna bring forward another measure? Will that be too late at that point? Is there a guarantee that there will not be a measure if there's disagreement? Is there a limit, do you know?
So there's no guarantee, but there's also no guarantee that the retired county employees and other elected officials won't bring their own either. So I think it's, I think, I just, well, I like to finish.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think it's not fair to say we're not being honest. There is no ulterior motive. Their leadership team is 12 people, a subset of 36, and that's how we ended up there. Arguing about the number is arguing about not you, but collectively. We don't like these people, we don't want them, we don't agree with them, we're afraid what they're gonna say. That may all be, and at the end of the day, it's gonna take all of us to get this to pass. We need the support of those 36 groups. There are not 36 different kinds of developers in the BIA. There are not 36 different kinds of members in the chamber. So I don't think it's exactly apples to apples, but again, the number is a red herring. They had 12, it was a negotiation. If you don't like the number, then that's our recommendation to you. We think it's reasonable, they don't have a voting block. If we see that, we can call it off. We can say, you know what, I don't want you to come to dinner anymore, we're done, we're not gonna date anymore, we're over. But that's not anybody's intention. So I don't want the headline to be, it's a dishonest process. That's not fair, and it is honest. There's no ulterior motive.
Well, I think you can only
I want
speak.
to echo Lean's comments too, but the fact is that we are working with a group that has shown a lot of interest of working together in passing a single measure. Your groups that you mentioned, my question is, where are they? Because I'm sure that if they were here with that, same intention of working together, they'd probably be working together now. But to come last minute right now and just try to insert 6 more or 8 more, whatever you're not, I think that's insane. And it's very disrespectful when you say that it's not being honest, because we have met many times with this group. Saying that we're not being honest, that there's something in it, keep it, yourself.
You keep misinterpreting what I said. This one was being dishonest. I said there are 12 positions that in the steering committee that are being given, and there are people in this group that have worked against the measure in 2022, and there are people in this group that I personally, having dealt with them, the city of Bredefeld, as I said, have different motives than, I think many people in my district, want. And I'm going to fight to make sure that this Measure C one passes, but addresses the needs of the people that I represent. And so I think giving 12, when there are other groups, whether you say they're here or not, they would certainly want to have more members on the steering committee as well.
But my question to you is that the same question that you asked. If we come to consensus and we are successful in moving forward with these meetings and bringing something that the whole board, supports, would you go out and run another measure because you don't support the consensus of these? That's a
I'm not
question for
running
you.
another measure.
Will you go out and run another measure?
I'm not running another measure.
Okay, that's very
I would
clear.
like to see one measure, because I think that's
One
the
county,
greatest
one
chance.
measure, unified, so.
But I also wanna see the measure address the needs that are truly needed.
Yes.
And that's the concern I have, and the concern I have is if this body gets what's brought before them, the steering committee, and there's changes that they wanna make, will that group truly then support what the electeds
Yes,
decide?
and those are very valid concerns that I respect a lot, but we don't know until we get there. All of it is just a speculation.
Of course.
And we
Yeah.
remain hopeful because we want one single measure that is gonna represent the entire county, one plan that's gonna represent every single city,
Cristales.
right? Like Mayor
Puede
Garry
leer
said,
el
we
humo.
represent 53% of the population. I don't expect Mendoza to get as much money as that, because their needs are greater, and we totally understand that,
Yep.
totally get it.
Right, I have a question. So the 12 that are coming on, are those 12 going to rotate at some point? Or are these like, the one, this is it, the 12 forever, it costs?
I'm gonna say no, but I don't know. Everyone's to rotate off in the middle or Huron or Clovis, so my expectation is that they're gonna join the committee and they're gonna be at the committee till the end of the time, to the end of the committee. Whether that's August or October, or when we celebrate the passage of 26.
Okay, because I think it would be difficult to
Totally.
continue to start training over.
Yeah, totally.
So if they lose one, then they're down to 11.
Well, I think we don't have well, if Clovis loses Clovis gets to request someone new. Like, not everyone has, I think those are details, we did not work that out, I mean, honestly, we ran out of time. So I don't know what the proxy appointment now is. Clovis doesn't have an alternate, I don't think. So, oh, we do? So if you don't have an alternate, let's say, you lose that seat? I don't know.
Yeah, because it sounds like we spent a lot of time, with training for them to understand all of the terms and everything that they need to understand in order to be able to be successful on this committee. And so therefore, if we're, somewhat down the line and they lose one, now we have one that we need to get up to speed, and is that their responsibility or is
Like
that
we were
our
born
responsibility?
yesterday.
I don't know.
Can I talk?
I don't know the answer to that question, if there's not a proxy, I hear it's a super good question, I think it's very, will have to answer, I don't know the answer.
I'm gonna be opening it up for the public in a bit. Is there any other comments from the board? So that we can start moving this along?
Those 3 bullet points are good, but I would, this is for me, what's important to me, and hasn't been said, including myself, over the last few months, is I would add, having one single measure is important, and of course, passing a Measure C is important to everybody, but passing an appropriate measure, for me, is important. And I think that may be the nexus of a lot of discussion, talking just for myself, especially for the last few months. Numbers do matter, and quite literally, Measure C, numbers matter what's going to go in there, and we're still talking about process. And so some numbers, it was 11.5, last month, changing the language on the action item. But numbers are important, and those 12, they're important to me. And I would push back, the answer that, Brandon got, I would say it was answered. What I heard anyways, was it would be disrespectful if it was less than. I don't know if, Andy, you were talking about 4 or 8 or 2, that's the answer that I got at the end. And that made me think, what I've been thinking since this agenda came out about Thursday or Friday last week, is this number for T-for-all for one group is feels a bit disrespectful for Reed, I'm speaking just for Reed and nobody else. I have one person on, as my steering committee member, and I chose her because she's a community champion. I don't know where she lies as far as what she wants. I would actually, wager that she'll probably lie on maybe an opposite side as far as allocation when we start talking about that than I would. But that's not why I chose her. I chose her because she's a community champion. She's gonna be talking to folks, and that's what we need. We need to be talking to folks about what member she is. We just don't know. But numbers do matter, and so that's some comments there. And 12's not okay with it. I'm just gonna say that for one group, unless, and I'll be a bit facetious, but there's some truth to this, unless I get another spot for Reed the Rotary and Reed the Kiwanis and American Legion, give me 5 more seats for Reed. I don't want it, because I already, there's already too many cooks in the kitchen, in my opinion. And one of the reasons for that, I'm trying to think, why is that too many? 70% threshold is 1. And 1/3, 2/3, it is what it is, but how challenging is that gonna be to pass something here? And I wanna say something too before I forget. I would like to hear from staff that we hired, but if we are directing questions to Lynn or you, Alma, as a staff report is, then that's fine, but I would actually really like to hear from staff. Coach Kendall's here, but I understand. That's really important. Facilitation and support team, who is that actually? Who exactly is that? What happens when there's no 70%? I know we're talking about a lot of what ifs, but we need to talk about that right now. What if I was on the other side, I would probably be doing stuff like this if maybe my end goal was to derail this. It's gonna be a lot easier to not pass it. What happens if we don't get a report from steering committee and recommend a lot, then we table it till next month? I don't know what that answer is. If I did this before, say this means I got a problem. Coming back to our policy board here, is that only gonna be informational, or what type of action is gonna be there? Is there only gonna be an action at the very end of this worksheet as far as, language? Or is there, kind of stop points here that we have an actual action item as far as moving forward? What happens if cities, counties, local jurisdictions don't approve it? Don't pass their own resolution? What happens? I think one of my last comments that I would say too would be is for us all. I don't know what the current allocation is for this current measure C that we're on right now, then I'll call everybody to look here. It's not hard to find. And I'll point out one thing that I've found is 6% for rent. And in looking in this, there's one group back in 06 strategy going through that threatened to derail this. This message I got, I was born back then.
Hey.
Threatened to, I'm joking, but, is that close?
You see, we're born back then, I feel really terrible about that.
6% for rail for one group. We have 38 folks in there. And what's gonna happen when something's simpler? It's 70% for 38 people. Too many cooks in the kitchen. That's for me. We talked about less seats. I don't understand. I still don't understand why. The only answer that I decided was that it'd be disrespectful with less people. And I want to say it one more time. The same point for the city. We have more seats.
Okay, so one of the things that I just wanna say, we keep going to the past. Turn the page. We gotta stop going to the past and start doing things from here on forward. Because I'll tell you, last time too, it didn't pass and we didn't have their input. They were not part of the steering committee and it still failed. So what we're trying to do is work for our community and get this measure to pass. That is the whole entire focus. And you're talking about what if this and what if that. There is a meeting that's scheduled for July 31st with some input that we're gonna have at that time. Then that's when we get to that point, and whatever comes up then we decide what we need to do next if there's any disagreements. This is just a flow chart. and we can't even get this approved. Or cannot move past that because of one thing, which is the steering committee. It's just a flow chart. We need to get past that and start moving forward so we can start with the measure and focus on what we need to get on there when it comes back, and we can start working on that. All the what ifs needs to stop.
Yeah, I just want to say, numbers do matter. The very point that I brought up when, all of the steering committee was appointed, and everybody got one appointment, including the city of Fresno. 53% of the people, and to get one representative, that's an equal vote to Selma or Fowler. And, fortunately, I was able to get 3. But even with 3, that's less than 8% of the steering committee made it at that time. But I was willing to accept that for one reason, because I trust the steering committee meeting members that you appointed to do the right thing. And secondly, at the end of the day, if I don't like this measure, I can vote against it when it comes back to me. And I think the same holds true today. I don't know who is going to be appointed by Transportation for All, but the 70% threshold is a pretty big threshold to overcome for all of us. So I have concerns, but I'm willing to go forward and support at this time, because otherwise we're gonna be stuck in the past. I would like to ask either Veronica or Sandra one question, if I could, based on a conversation we had, if you could. No? You
I'm just
can't?
kidding.
I waited till you got that ice cream meat.
Have one.
You folks have done, community meetings, and you've had about 2,000 meetings.
Over 2,000.
Can you share with me, or us at the microphone, what is the number one issue that you have found from all of the folks that live both in the urban and rural environment? What is it that they want done?
Yeah.
No, not more carpenters.
Yeah, that's the first thing they said.
Carpenters are part of Key for All, and they're just asking me to say more carpenters. No, I'm just kidding. We've had sessions that have brought over 2,000 people in person throughout the county, with the last one was held in Fireball on Monday. Thank you, Mayor, for being there. Thank you, Mayor Medida, for being there as well. The number 2 issues that have come up are local streets, existing neighborhoods in existing communities, and the streets that they can see in their front yard, from their front yard, that they commute. There's routes to school, and the need for a strong integrated public transit system that gets people to where they need to go. Those are the top issues. You've all talked about it plenty of times. You've heard sidewalks in existing neighborhoods and existing communities that have long called for that investment. We've heard about safe routes to school and the importance of safe routes to school, but those are the major issues that have come up consistently across the board.
Thank you, that's all.
Speak to Mayor Dyer's point, the compromise, and just listening to it, you sold me a little bit, you have.
We did that.
You sold me a little bit on it, but specifically your opinion. But I'd be comfortable with maybe even giving them 4. That's more than any other city. That's more than the city that represents 53% of this entire group. Give them 4. That gives us the assurances of what are our fears. That there's gonna end up being a majority of control, especially with things not being lined out yet. Let's give them 4. That's accurate representation, it's fair, it's more than any, it's true, it's 4 times what I have, it's 4 times what Rio has, it's more than the entire city has. Let's give them the 4, that's a fair compromise, everyone would be happier with it, and you still have all the voices. Yes, you absolutely have to condense your leadership group, and I respect that.
¿Por qué
But
quiere
to
callar
speak to
voces?
Mayor Tuttle's point, it's about mutual respect at this point. It's about respecting each one of the towns the same way as we're showing you the respect by giving you 4 times the amount as the rest of us have. If it's not a control, if it's not a future grab, if there's no ulterior motives or everything, which, if that's the case, it shouldn't be an issue at all. You're still taking more than any other city. And I think that's a very fair compromise, because we have to be assured that this is gonna be right moving forward. Because this is, to contradict, Chair Beltran's statement, this is absolutely not just a flow chart. It is anything but just a flow chart. These are numbers that matter. These are numbers that matter, that are foundational on a multi-billion-dollar measure. these things really do matter, and it's exhausting, it's 8:30, it's gonna keep going, and it should. But these numbers matter, it's not just a flow chart, and I think 4 for me is a number that I can wrap my head around. It does have absolute community engagement, and it still alleviates all of the concerns, at least that I would have with that. And it tells me in good faith, this is not a power grab, this is not a control thing from, that's all.
Yeah, I hear you, Mayor. Lynn, how diverse is the coalition? Like, if the 12 that are there, I mean, are they from different cities, like, how are they made up?
So it's my collaborative, this is what I'll say. It's 35 organizations, from League of Women Voters to bike riders to the Jakar movement to help me. I mean, I'm not a part of the collaborative, but I think it's very diverse. One of their principles is diversity, so, but I can only name those 3, but help me out if there's more. I mean, there's 36 of them, about 35.
I think it's important
Yeah.
to really describe.
I definitely will answer.
So that.
I think for comparison, I will mention that we have representation of over 30 community-based organizations, including labor, including the League of Women Voters, including grassroots organizations that have a span across the entire county. So when you think about why we are able to engage people to show up to an in-person meeting in Firebomb, where there's over 100 folks in person, where there's over 300 people in the city of Fresno, compared to your consultant who had a meeting in Fresno with 11 people. The reason for that is because of the fact that we have a strong coalition that actually is representative of the whole entire county. And we are having community sessions from every corner of our county, all up to the foothills, to the east side of our county, to the west side, to the urban communities. Because the goal is not control, the goal is inclusion. It is to make sure that we hear from as many people as possible so that they can inform whatever measure, right, comes out of this process to ensure the best possible chance of success on the November 2026 ballot. And so in order to be respectful of the residents and taxpayers who will ultimately vote for that measure, our coalition is not one organization. It is many organizations, just like this body is not one city, it's many cities. And so our coalition is working together to ensure that not only are we engaging residents, but that we are making shared decisions as we go along the process. And so our structure has been very similar to your steering committee. We meet on a monthly basis, we make decisions as a group, and then we move forward to the next activity. We have a subset, which you alluded to earlier, which we call a work group, which is comprised between 12 and 15 folks that does the work in between. Because as Lynn can tell you, and Chair Martinez, Vice Chair Martinez and Chair Beltran, there's a lot of in between, right? Work, and of course Robert and staff, to make sure that we're prepared for those monthly decision-making meetings. So it is that group that serves as our leadership group that we would like to make sure that we honor the level of commitment that they have demonstrated, not just in the last few months, but for the last 2+ years. And so that's why when we were having these conversations, we didn't talk about a number, right? It was actually Vice Chair Martinez who made the recommendation to an agreement about 2/3, 1/3. So we're fine with 4 seats. If you're willing to then change the composition of the steering committee. If you're willing to tell some of your steering committee members that they're no longer going to be on the steering committee, and that's something that you're willing to do to reduce the number so that 1/3 of the seats equals 4 for us, and that's fine. We have no problem because we didn't agree to a number. We agreed to a composition. We agreed to a composition. Because just like I think it would be uncomfortable for you to tell any of your steering committee members that they no longer have a seat at the table, it would be just as uncomfortable for us to tell any of our committee members that they no longer have a seat at the
It's
table.
uncomfortable for us to select one person. There was more people from Kingsburg who wanted to be on the steering committee, but I didn't just come back and say I want 5. I had to select one because
And you could also expand the steering committee, which is a suggestion that we made.
I just wanna give respect to the other mayors that have been waiting
Yes,
to
please.
make comments, Freddie and then Nathan.
And then we move to-
and then Scott, so we'll go we'll go that way. Freddie, Nathan, and then Scott.
You know, I think it's important that, you know, we remember that we voted, and this is a democracy, to merge together two groups that we felt was important. At that meeting, we also agreed that we were gonna send the chair and the vice chair to represent this board. They've done work diligently together to bring us this recommendation. Now, we can go round and round about numbers. For me personally, 12 doesn't make any, for me, that's fine. I don't have a problem with 12 people. I don't. Because at the end of the day, I'm elected by 9,200 people. And they trust me to come here to make decisions on behalf of Fireball. The ultimate decision is gonna lie with this board. We all have one representation on this board. I don't have 10 from Fireball, I have myself. The same as everyone else here. Fresno made a perfect point. They represent 52%. And he's willing to move forward. We have to regain trust in what we chose to do as a board, collectively. Trust the people that we sent, trust the individuals that we're partnering with. To say that the numbers don't matter, they do matter, you're right. But at the end of the day, the number that matters is the numbers in this board that decide on the final plan and to make the decisions in between. If we're gonna go round and round about 12, I don't have a problem. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna cast my vote for the different levels of this decision making, and I'm gonna represent Fireball to the fullest. Okay, that's my point, thank you.
So, Madam Chair,
It was Nathan, I'll go Nathan, and then.
Nathan hasn't spoken.
And then Scott, and then you.
Alright, so, you know, why did we reach out in the first place? Well, because we had a group of people that wanted to be involved. And this measure failed last time in the way that it was working. Probably because lack of transparency, lack of accountability. Public didn't trust that what was gonna happen was gonna be in their best interest. And so, now we have a group, that I was kinda caught off guard with to begin with. I'll be honest, there was a lot of people here, I didn't understand the situation, thank you for that. I haven't had that in a while. But, as echoing the comments from, I would say, the majority of the folks here, we did put faith in in the chair and the vice chair to negotiate, on our behalf. And, I look at all the people that are here, which is a lot more people than some of our polling did even from the people that were paying. And so why do we want them involved? Because they have that outreach in the community. They've done a lot already. They're gonna put their focus on getting this passed. So if they're gonna put their focus on getting this passed, then that means they're also gonna have the focus of the community when you're looking for what do they wanna bring to the table. Now, we're gonna be the electeds that are gonna make the final decision, right? I think that these are just gonna be treated like council meetings where, you know, you're gonna have a group of advisors that are gonna be there, that are gonna give advice and move forward, just like if you had a council meeting, you're having public comment and people get to talk, more like a discussion, not public comment, right? And then that information gets moved forward. What does it do for them? It gives them a seat at the table. It gives them that inclusivity that they want, where they have access to the people that are making, that are giving advice to the people that are making decisions. I think that's important. I'm a huge fan of transparency and accountability. And why? Because that's what the stakeholders want. And those stakeholders are gonna equal developers, they're going to equal, the people, they're gonna be equal all the different groups that are around. It's very important to want to get this passed, that we're honest and transparent with everybody moving forward. And so, I'm kind of stuck on the fact that there's still ideas of other people running other measures. That's really kind of disturbing to me, because that would undermine all of the work that we've done here. You know, we've done a lot of work to move it forward, we've made a lot of compromises. Transportation for All is not just one group, as they've stated. They're a large group that has a large outreach, and they take in a lot of different opinions, and they move those opinions to those people that they're gonna put on the steering committee, and they're gonna give advice to us. I don't see that's a bad thing. I say it's a good thing. That's a lot more people that can have a lot more input, a lot more ideas that we can bring forward that could actually help our communities. If we don't like the ideas, we're the electeds. We don't have to say yes. We can say no. We can modify it. But as it sits, I really like having, I don't like having council meetings where I have one or two people. because then we pass something and then the majority of the people may be unhappy with what we did. I love it when there's people there with different opinions, because then at least I get to understand what's going on. Because then we can make good decisions, and at least, you know, hopefully 50+1% of the public will be happy with what we did. And so I just wanna say, I'm thankful that you guys continue, guys and gals, and everyone else decides to show up. That shows me that there is some trust over from them, saying, hey, we trust what you guys are gonna move forward. And they've already been out to the community, I know, because they've been to the different communities that I have members in that have said, hey, they've already came out and talked to our people. And they've been pushing for this, regardless of even having this done. They've already been pushing. To me, that offers a level of trust. They've been pushing for this. They have not been pushing for a side measure. They've been pushing for this right in the forefront of the trust that we said that we were going to do. So I just want to thank that scenario, and I hope that we can all come together and that we can keep this moving, because we need this to pass. For Kalinga, this equaled $7.8 million. And I agree with Mayor Tuttle that I would love to get the numbers to show how much of a leverage point this had. Because $7.8 doesn't sound like a lot, but the leverage that it has, and that is some of the reason why it takes a little while to get some of these projects moving, because when you have really good project managers and really good people that they're thinking, how can I leverage this money with state and local and federal funds to make the best happen for your community? And so sometimes we get some lag in it. But I just want to say thank you to everyone. I appreciate the county's perspective. I appreciate the concerns from everyone about the 12 members and whatnot. And you know, there's obviously going to be a bunch of concerns as we move forward, probably from, you know, Transportation for All and the other people that are there too. But I'm hoping that we can have a level of trust and that we can move forward on that. Thank you.
Everybody is saying you're great people, doing really great things tonight. The suspicion is from all parties. We gotta get through that, gotta get past that. Tonight we are trying to do that. Just back to the flow chart, I've heard some great things. I agree with everything I've heard. I thank our chair and our vice chair. Voted for both of you. Appreciate what you're doing, but we have our concerns. That's what we're talking about tonight. Back to the flow chart, which is really the plan here. Who is the facilitation and the support team? They appear like at almost every single step on the flow chart. Do different folks make up the facilitation and support team? Is it gonna be the steering committee? Who's it gonna be?
The facilitator is our facilitator.
Scott, the suggestion was that the work required for meeting to meeting, sort of like as Sandra described in Transportation for All, is a lot. So Kendall is the facilitator, but a team, and the proposal is that it's the same group that has done all this work. So those two from FCTA, if the chairman wants to participate, Community Foundation, and T for All, to do the work offline, to try to keep the work going and to synthesize what they're hearing from the community, what the steering committee is talking about, so the agendas flow and get the work done. It's really just support for Kendall. She has a team at DKS. She hasn't engaged the team, I don't think, to the extent that she could. So it's gotta be, somebody's gotta help push along. Because it can't fall on just her. I can't fall on myself. So that was the idea.
And so in terms of our updates, like the Mayor Close is saying, will we have this flow chart as a touchstone that we'll be able to look at and see completion dates, to see what the milestones, see what's being completed, because it's a great flow chart, but it's a lot of steps and there's not much detail. So, you know, I would like to see that fleshed out and to see exactly who's doing what and when. And again, I don't know why the 12. I mean, I like the number 12 for different reasons, but I don't know why it's 12. But I'm gonna go with it. I mean, let's do this, but let's keep watching it, and let's all work together and make this happen. Definitely.
For the record, I wanted 25.
I just need that.
All right, maybe this is the last comment?
Yes,
Before we hear
I
the
need to
public?
still open it up
I'm eager
for
to hear
the
from the
public
public.
before we go.
I just wanna say, I don't have a problem with 12, and you only got one person in there, but I am here, and the buck stops with this body, period. Thank you.
Thank you.